This man's off-plan apartment project was abandoned, and there's nothing he could do. He can only kneel at the construction site, constantly bowing, hoping his home construction will resume. This is the Rongchuan apartment I bought in its sixth phase in Zhengzhou City. I poured my life savings into this, spending 2 million yuan. Because of this apartment, I went to appeal and ended up in a detention center for a week. I want to thank this era and Rongchuan. Thank you for letting me experience what it's like to be persecuted as a victim. My apartment's handover got delayed, and when problems occurred, instead of the developer being held accountable, I was detained. I'm the fool in all this, and to my neighbors, I'm that brave soul standing alone. I'm Mr. He from Zhengzhou's abandoned housing project, and I'm back. The situation of those affected by abandoned housing projects has not been a primary concern, as issues like homeowners being unable to move into their properties or facing mortgage defaults have not been prioritized. The focus has largely remained on the developer's financial stability. This is the current reality of the Chinese real estate market. Facing this harsh reality, some owners of abandoned properties have chosen not to wait any longer. Unable to change the situation, they have decided to accept it as best they can. They made a decision that left those around them puzzled. They moved into the unfinished buildings, taking up residence in bare, incomplete units without water or electricity. This lifestyle is not merely a step back in time, it feels as though they have been transported thousands of years into the past overnight. From afar, the high-rises may still look like a symbol of a shining metropolis, but up close, they resemble a scene from a post-apocalyptic world. The scene is surreal, as if one has been transported into a bizarre and disorienting reality. What is life truly like for those living in these wind-exposed, unfinished buildings?
I'm a homeowner in Kunming at the abandoned Noah's Ark building project in the economic development zone. My husband and I came from the countryside, used our life savings to buy this place. Many of the homeowners here are homeless, so they are already living in these unfinished buildings. There's no water, no electricity, so every day we carry water up ourselves. Since there's nothing else we can do, we are stuck eating whatever we can. We used our pension, our retirement savings, and even our elderly parents' savings, but now this building is abandoned.
We really need construction to resume as soon as possible. Right now, every day, we still have to carry water because there's just no water or electricity. In the morning, all we could do is cook some radishes to eat. After being laid off, is this how my life savings will all go to waste? Among them is a homeowner in Kunming's Ark Heaven development, a man in his 60s who has shared the difficult conditions that residents endure living in an abandoned building. I'm a homeowner at the Ark Heaven development in Kunming. We moved in on March 25th, 2024, and this is where we live now. We've made living areas in the stairwell, workroom, and the lobby, each of us with a small tent. Look here and over there too. This is a tent put up by a family, and this small steel bed was brought by us. We put up wind-blocking curtains and live here. I live in this small workroom. It's just enough space for a tent, and I sleep here at night. There's no electricity, and all the homeowners are living here. You can see that's rainwater leaking from above, and I catch it to use for washing vegetables, dishes, and clothes. We cook our meals here, in a very basic kitchen. For household water, we take plastic bottles down to the river across the way and carry water back. This is the water we use to wash things. We also go to the supermarket to buy these kinds of lamps, and we sneak into Walmart or public toilets to steal electricity to use at night. We've been living here since March. In Yunnan, there is yet another group whose happy city development has become the sorrow city. 35 households have been forced to live in an unfinished building, fending off stray dogs while growing vegetables and cooking communal meals, living out a real-life version of Survivor. Among these residents is a homeowner named Chen Yang-chun, whose story is one of struggle and heartache. At 35, she ran a small restaurant, and she and her husband managed to save up enough money to buy a home. In 2014, the Happy City project was launched in Kunming. From the information available, it was touted as a trendy, popular housing development, and its developer, Jia Dali, was a major local real estate player. After much deliberation, Chen and her husband decided to take the plunge and buy a unit. To make the down payment, they sold the previous home and even sold their kitchenware, finally securing their dream home. They were already planning the renovations, but instead of receiving the keys, they were met with an unfinished building. The developer ran out of funds, and the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. But even worse, while their home was gone and their down payment vanished, they still had to continue repaying the mortgage. With no choice, Chen and her husband had to rent a place to live while also servicing the loan, leaving them under double pressure. During this time, Chen did not give up on defending her rights. She joined other homeowners in protesting outside Jia Dali's offices. Unfortunately, Jia Dali vanished without a trace. After 5 long years, there was still no sign of construction resuming on the abandoned building that Chen and her husband had purchased. After exhausting all other options, they took the initiative to move into the unfinished property. Following her call, 35 homeowners joined them, taking up residence in the abandoned building. After moving in, they collectively addressed issues of water, electricity, safety, and living conditions, and even cultivating a city farm on the vacant land behind the building. These experiences, which onlookers might see as intriguing survival story in an abandoned building, are, for them, a deeply painful ordeal. Every evening, the bright lights of the high-rises across the road are a cruel reminder. They are a forgotten group living in an unfinished building. Although they have achieved remarkable things under difficult circumstances, who wouldn't want to live in a real home? One person who also dreams of moving into a real home is 28-year-old Chi-Chi. In May 2023, Chi-Chi decided to move out of her rental and into her new home. Moving into a new place is supposed to be a joyous occasion, but all Chi-Chi felt was an overwhelming sense of melancholy. Her building was already an unfinished project, showing signs of despair. Although construction had topped out and the exterior walls were complete, the tiles were thick with dust. Building debris littered the ground, and in many places, bricks had not even been laid. The area was deserted, with no soul in sight. Tired of the developer's repeated broken promises, Chi-Chi settled into her yet-to-be-delivered apartment. She has been living in this abandoned building in Chengdu for over a year. Her 57-square-meter unit, which she spent about 100,000 yuan renovating before moving in, appears no different from a fully finished home on the inside. After moving in, Chi-Chi had to deal with various challenges of daily life, such as a lack of gas and unreliable electricity. She ran a cable from an external temporary power box used for construction to supply her daily needs. The temporary setup could not handle high-power appliances, so power outages became a routine occurrence. During the hottest days of summer, using an air conditioner was a luxury she couldn't afford. On top of all this, she had to contend with water and power disruptions from the developer. Most importantly, living alone in an open, unfinished building was unsafe for a young woman, but at least she had neighbors who could stick together. Chi-Chi's home buying journey began in 2021 when she had saved enough for a down payment on a property in Chengdu. She decided to purchase an apartment, and after searching through numerous listings, she finally found one she liked and could afford. It was a mixed-use building under construction, located about 1 kilometer from the metro, with beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows. Most importantly, the price was under 8,000 yuan per square meter, significantly cheaper than other properties nearby, which were priced over 10,000 yuan per square meter. The 57-square-meter apartment cost over 400,000 yuan, no small amount for her. Before signing the contract, she repeatedly confirmed with the developer that the property would be delivered as per the contract by the end of 2021. The sales staff confidently pointed at the construction site and assured her it would be done, but even after such careful considerations, she still fell into the trap of an abandoned project. The issue of unfinished buildings is no longer confined to the less affluent. Even the most expensive properties have not been spared. Reports have emerged about a 1 billion yuan luxury project in Beijing's affluent districts that has also stalled, and in recent years, cases of high-end properties being abandoned have become more frequent. Located in Guangzhou, the Tianhe CBD covers a total construction area of over 14 million square meters, housing 124 office towers. Among them, 10 buildings exceed 300 meters in height, making this area one of the most concentrated regions with skyscrapers of such height, not just in China but globally. It's often seen as Guangzhou's most impressive architectural showcase. By the end of last year, the GDP generated solely by Tianhe CBD reached 377 billion yuan, with over 90 of its buildings contributing more than 100 million yuan each in taxes. Centered around corporate offices, the Zhejiang New Town Business District, covering 6 square kilometers, includes 9 major domestic chain commercial complexes such as K11 and Tianhui IGC. However, behind this impressive facade lies a less glamorous reality: unfinished luxury properties. Just across from Zhejiang New Town, the upscale Shimao Tianyu project, with an average price of 160,000 yuan per square meter, has been left abandoned. Many of the homeowners who were supposed to have received their apartments 2 years ago are still waiting, with over half of them unable to take possession. Ownership issues remain unresolved, and reports suggest that the property certificates are still unattainable. In Henan, several hundred kilometers away, another absurd situation has emerged with abandoned luxury properties. Tianxing waterfront, once touted as a Rolls-Royce of luxury homes, has been left unfinished for nearly a decade, turning almost 300,000 square meters into a ghost town. After the project's owner declared bankruptcy a few years ago, the entire development seemed to fall into disrepair, even becoming a dumping ground at one point. It wasn't until late last year that there were signs of the project resuming, with some personnel reappearing on site. Yet, according to local media reports, there is still no clear timeline for when homeowners can move in. If the abandonment of these 2 luxury developments isn't shocking enough, the downfall of a once promising project that marketed itself as starting at 100 million yuan per villa up to 1 billion yuan for the most luxurious has left the real estate industry stunned. In its heyday, potential buyers needed to pass financial checks just to view these ultra-luxury villas. Those without at least 30 million yuan were not even allowed to see the model homes. Today, this once coveted estate has become a battleground for legal battles, with even wealthy buyers turning to social media for help. On Xiaohongshu, a popular Chinese social media app, a user who purchased one of these villas lamented, "I spent several million yuan on a property from Yutong Group. 2 years have passed, and there's been no progress. Not only is the house unfinished, but weeds are also starting to grow on the construction site. What am I supposed to do?" One particularly notorious project, Beijing Manor, covers an area of 170,000 square meters, but planned to build just 200 standalone villas, with a floor area ratio of only 0.6. For a city as densely packed as Beijing, this seemed a bit extravagant. However, the national villa construction ban that began in 2016 only made Beijing Manor stand out more. Marketed as the epitome of a private luxury estate, the development was designed for the wealthy seeking a low-profile lifestyle, far from subway lines and nestled beyond Beijing's 6th Ring Road. But given the current abandoned state of the project, it seems to have been a trap designed to lure and harvest money from wealthy buyers. Beijing Manor was promoted as a top-tier estate, boasting amenities modeled after the exclusive Le Spa, frequented by the likes of Bill Gates and Saudi princes. It was marketed as the only estate in the country where every villa had a 25-meter heated indoor pool, complete with additional features like massage pools, spa zones, showers, and juice bars. The architectural style was lavish, combining high-end French and Italian elements, topped off with a touch of Middle Eastern opulence. The bait was set and the trap was ready. It's worth noting that while 95% of villas in China are delivered unfurnished, Beijing Manor offered fully furnished units, and not just any furnishing, the best of the best. From the interior stonework in the model homes, priced at 20,000 yuan per square meter, the same material used for Michelangelo's David, to the garden pathways spanning 150 to 2,600 square meters, all paved with authentic Italian stone. And the furniture inside the villas, only top-end French designer pieces were deemed acceptable. The level of luxury even extended to the door handles, which were gold-plated. But the reality did not match the glamorous sales pitch. Despite the elaborate marketing, Beijing Manor's construction has now come to a halt, exposing underlying issues. Although the estate was tailored for the ultra-rich, it failed to generate strong interest. From 2019 to 2021, the project had 49 approved sales, but signed contracts for only 2 units. In a desperate bid to sell more units, the developers even introduced a deal offering a Rolls-Royce worth around 5 million yuan with each purchase, which helped only sell 20 more. The remaining 178 villas stand deserted. Currently, the project, which was planned in 4 phases, still has unfinished sections. Some areas remain under construction, while others are overgrown with weeds, reflecting a state of neglect for the past 2 years. Industry insiders suggest that the halt in Beijing Manor's villa construction could be linked to financial difficulties faced by its initial developer, Heyu Real Estate. Although Heyu was a market leader in terms of sales and floor area when Beijing Manor first launched, changing regulations and a downturn in the real estate sector have driven commercial and residential projects into a new cycle, causing even this once dominant developer to falter. The downfall of such a marquee project has been a wake-up call for many. A Bloomberg industry report highlighted that at least 48 million homes in China were sold before they were fully built, indicating that the country's real estate crisis will not be resolved anytime soon. Bloomberg noted that this figure exceeds the total housing stock in Germany in 2021. Analysts Christy Hung and Monica See say this poses a direct threat to developers' revenues, as buyers may shy away from off-plan properties and instead opt for already completed or second-hand homes. Should developers' incomes be impacted, funding for ongoing construction projects will weaken, potentially leading to more abandoned properties across the country. Between 2000 and the first half of this year, China had an 8.4 billion square meter shortfall in housing completions, accounting for 38% of the total. The rate of unfinished projects has surged from an annual average of 17% before 2015 to 47% between 2015 and 2023. Chinese buyers' preferences are also shifting, with existing home sales outpacing new builds for the first time last year. The report indicates that in the first half of this year, completed homes accounted for 27% of new home sales, compared to just 10% in 2021. At its peak, the real estate sector contributed a quarter of China's GDP, but since 2021, a series of major developers have defaulted, leaving numerous construction sites idle and countless unfinished properties behind. The proliferation of unfinished developments has devastated China's housing market, dealing a blow not just to the economy, but also to personal wealth. A significant portion of Chinese household assets is tied to real estate, making the housing market a persistent drag on the nation's economy. In a forum, Wang Jinquan, vice president of Taiwan's Tsinghua Institution for Economic Research, analyzed the significant threat that the real estate sector poses to China's economy. He stated, "For over 20 years, China's economic growth has been driven by real estate. Now, with properties no longer a speculative asset, local governments lose revenue, and there's no way to drive up GDP. This has put the entire situation in a difficult spot, leaving about 25% of China's GDP essentially in a vacuum." Despite new measures, the Chinese real estate sector continues to face multiple obstacles. A recent report from the China Real Estate Information Corporation showed that sales by major developers fell at a faster rate in July, with the top 100 developers' sales dropping by 20%, around 279 billion yuan. This was a sharper decline compared to the 17% drop in June, with sales falling 36% month on month. Nomura economists state in a report that the real estate sector in China has not yet bottomed out. Despite some key indicators showing positive signs, the crisis is far from over. Besides the accelerating drop in new home sales, new adverse factors are emerging, potentially further suppressing demand. If issues like unfinished properties continue to persist, any government stimulus measures may prove ineffective in reviving demand.